we?
We're going live, yeah.
Hey, hello everyone.
Well, we're going live. I can't see.
We're live now. We're live now.
See, on my screen it's setting up meeting. We do this every week. I'm just not going to say it again.
And then soon we'll be like, well, our intro will be, we do this every week.
Yeah. we just do it automatically and actually put an intro and an outro.
Anyone that is new to the group, Sam and I are useless at figuring out when we're live and when we're not live. So we have this conversation going on. So you can probably, with any live video, you can probably skip the first 45 seconds.
Pretty much.
And then we'll get into it.
And then if you want to not watch us laughing, you can skip another 45 seconds and then you'll probably get to the introduction. Yeah. If not, skip another minute or two and then you'll be golden.
And then we're good.
So, yeah, and just a massive welcome to all the new members as well. Obviously, if you want to know a bit more about me and Lisa, go and watch the intro video and introduce yourself so we can know a bit more about you. Which is a massive welcome to the group. And yeah, it's one of those things, you know, you're going to get out the effort you put in, right? So if you've got questions, if there's anything that comes up for you, if there's anything you're particularly want to know, struggling with, stuck on, or something incredible that you've just done that you want to share, like use the group for that, right? That's the whole point in this group. And to help you grow a coaching practice through service, not internet marketing.
Yeah.
So
no, true. I mean, like I want to emphasize what you're saying there, because you will hear me talking about commitment a lot, and it's almost like, here's a space for you. We're ready to serve you in any way that we can. Here's a space for you. If there's stuff going on in your business right now that you want to have a conversation about, that you want to ask a question about, that, you know, let us know and we'll help you however we can. We'll do our best to explore it with you. But it's your space. Like, it is, we are here for you. So I don't know, there's something there around, you've got to get comfortable almost. But when I say you, I'm coming from like my experience as well. It's like, I knew I had to get comfortable with asking for things, you know, really comfortable with asking for things. And just using this space to start to get comfortable with asking, like putting stuff out there into the world. It could be the smallest step, you know, it could be like the tiniest step that you need to take, but it might build up onto the next step. Yeah. So, yeah. That's a less eloquent way of saying exactly what Sam just said.
Basically, just copying me. Yeah. Did anyone hear an echo? Yeah.
What else are we going to talk about today? Do you want to go first?
As long as you're not going to repeat what I'm going to say, I definitely will go first. Yeah. No, so basically, we were sitting there thinking about what can we talk about that's going to be in service to you guys, and we were looking down some of the comments. Hello, Rosie, by the way, she said hello to us. We were looking down the comments and there were some things that really stood out to us, and as we were talking, it just feels really appropriate, especially now where I think people are viewing things differently, you know, under the circumstance. I think people are viewing things differently, or at least in my experience they are, to really be honest and open and really raw about how difficult sometimes and how challenging and equally awesome growing a coaching practice can be. Like, and being really open about that, because I think it's easy when you sort of first start to look at everybody else kind of doing well and think, oh, how did I get to that point? No, I'm not there yet, right? And it kind of keeps a bit stuck. And as we read down the comments, there was a lot of people, and fair enough, feeling worried about being seen, kind of insecure about hearing no, perhaps, not sure what the next steps are. And there's kind of a lot of fear around what's going to happen next and what to expect and what they're going to experience, right? Putting themselves out there. And like you said, Lisa, it's like the real honest truth of it is that doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. It gets easier, yeah, because we're less attached to it and we've got more experience in it. But it kind of doesn't go anywhere, in that sometimes we feel all feelings all of the time. And if we're guided by those feelings, we are, I know you're going to talk more on this, but we're kind of stuck at the bottom of the ladder, right?
Are you about to pinch what I'm going to say?
I'm gonna well, see, I could,
Tables have
but
turned.
I'm just not like that. So I'm going to say over to you to talk about the ladder.
Okay, thanks, Sam. Yeah, I probably want to share a little bit around just what Sam and I were talking about was this roller coaster of a ride that it feels like we're on. And yeah, like what you said, it's like that feeling doesn't kind of go away. It just comes in many different guises, I suppose. And I had a really cool conversation with a client today about this, because I'd noticed myself this week, it feels like some days I'm just so like energized, and then other days I'm just feeling really flat, and it doesn't seem to be for any reason or another. Today, I don't know why I feel compelled to share this now.
No.
But yesterday was like a flat day, even though I had a ton of stuff to do, and today was a really good day. I was having really fun conversations, but the rest of my day went to shit. So I've got no food in the house because I've been too busy to go to the supermarket. So I made boiled eggs and I peeled them, and then I dropped the egg and it rolled onto the carpet.
Did you have to wash it?
No, I did. I had to throw it in the bin. It was like,
mate,
it rolled
brutal.
so far. It was, you couldn't save it. And then I dropped the toilet roll down the toilet.
What are you doing?
I don't know. I was just dropping a lot of stuff. So today, I'm in a really good mood, like a really good space. But there was so much going on like that. And then I had a consultation with someone today who I'd already like made a proposal to, and he wants to work with me. He just doesn't have the money and like has zero budget. So it was like, oh man, like there's not even any kind of flex that I can put in there to help support him right now, because his budget is zero. So, I recommended a few resources for him. And I actually gave him a bit of a lead for his business. And we just said, like, let's speak again in 3 months. So it was one of those days. There was no reason for me to be in a good mood, but I am. And yesterday was the opposite, where it was like I had every reason to be in a good mood, and yet I still felt a bit flat. And this week has just been so busy. So there's lots going on. I have a women's group starting on Sunday. We have the coaches group starting tomorrow night. And there's just been a ton of stuff going on to get ready for everything. And so I went onto a call last night. And it was like it was more like a Q&A call with a coach. So I was there as a participant, and I had my video switched off. I wasn't present at all. Like, I'm going to own that right now. I wasn't present. I had my video off. I was eating my dinner because I didn't have time to eat. And the coach said his thing, and then he opened up for questions and answers. And the first two people on the call just came on and started being really appreciative. And there's nothing wrong with that. But where my mindset was, I was so far on the bottom of that ladder, I just couldn't tap into that space. And I was getting really frustrated. And I was just thinking to myself, oh my God, can we just know that everyone's going to be appreciative, please? And this is just really honest of how it is. This is real life. There's no airs and graces about it. We wanted to do a really authentic video on what it can sometimes feel like. And yeah, that's where I was at yesterday. So I was like, oh my God, why can we just take it as read that everyone's going to be thankful, and then get on with the questions so that I can get something that might be helpful.
All about me.
It was, in that moment, it was like, but I was feeling all of that frustration and everything else. It felt really, really true. And I was talking to my client about this today because she was a bit stuck in the way she was thinking. And she was talking about levels, and in her mind, she was talking about levels like in a hierarchical way, where if somebody has a heightened sense of awareness, it's like they're at a different level to me, and it feels like they're better than me. So she was really resisting this idea of having these different levels. And so I just said, do you want to take a fresh look at that? And we did. And the analogy that I used was, it's almost like when I was on that call, if you imagine I don't know, big like jungle or forest or something. When I was on that call, I was at the bottom of the ladder. So I was like lying in the forest, like flat on my face with my face in the mud. Right? So all I could see was mud. I couldn't see anything beyond mud. And so I was experiencing mud. And then it was almost like as I got onto my knees, I started to see slightly differently. So now I could start to see, oh, there's some trees around me and there's a path ahead of me. And then, like, if you imagine I would be standing up or actually starting to climb the tree, like that was the analogy that I used to get myself to a higher state of awareness, a higher state of consciousness. And suddenly, like at the top of the tree, you can see, like, I don't know, the elephants or the monkeys swinging in the trees. You can start to hear the birds. You can see all the different paths. You start to see the beauty of the jungle. And when I was on that call, I had my face so slap bang in the mud that I had no idea I was in the jungle. Which is fine. And that, you know, in that moment, that's where I was at. So it wasn't about trying to fix my feeling or anything else, but it was just, you know, recognizing now today in a much higher state of consciousness, you know, I've climbed the tree and now I can actually see what that woman was saying on the call in such a different light and have such a different experience of it. So today, without me having to do anything at all, I'm just really experiencing that call differently. And so now I'm thinking the thoughts, I'm not forcing new thoughts. I'm not trying to think positively, but I'm just open to new thoughts and they're just coming in naturally. So it's like, oh, now I'm seeing how nice is it that there's so much appreciation in the world? Like that makes me start, you know, that makes me feel grateful. Even when I drop my boiled egg on the floor, I can tap into appreciation, you know? It's, I don't know, there was something in that I thought was worth sharing because it is really, it's just about being really real. Like we don't have everything, all our shit together all of the time. And I think there are people out there who give off the impression that they do, or there are people out there that look at other people and just form that opinion. They think, you know, everything's rosy all of the time and it's easy and effortless. And it's, I just want to be real. It's a human experience growing and sustaining a business. And so there's gonna be a real roller coaster of emotions, but having that heightened awareness, like having a sense of where our experience is really coming from. So it's not the person that said no to you. You know, it's the thinking, it's the meaning that you're putting on that no that's creating that feeling. And you might be, when you hear that, you might be face down in the mud, having like face in mud thoughts and not positive thoughts. Yeah. So that was my insight, I think, that I wanted to share this week that I thought would be helpful.
Yeah. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because we were saying before the call and in the call, that doesn't necessarily change. Like I had a conversation with a client on Monday because I did some coaching on Monday still. And, you know, you do the whole kind of pleasantries, don't you, at the beginning? And my client said, how are you? And I was like, actually, I'm feeling shit today. And she was like, are you allowed to say that? And I was like, well, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, if you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you the truth. That was the agreement, right? She's like, fair enough. And it led into this really cool conversation around just honesty. And the first thing she said was, you could have cancelled. I was like, why would I cancel? So why, what's wrong with showing up like this? And she said, that's interesting because her stories around that are, she cancels stuff because of how she feels sometimes, which is fine. But she said the amount of time she's done that when actually she didn't need to, or she's kind of done it to kind of get out of something. And I think a lot of us do that when things feel uncomfortable. We can use that as an excuse to get out of something. And it led on to this just really fascinating conversation about how we feel and kind of just really honestly acknowledging that. And we were having a conversation today, weren't we, me and you, with a client, and we were talking about how we experience thought. So I can't share how I'm feeling, or I'm feeling like shit today, all right, I'm no good at this, or I'm too scared to hear no, right? We have these thoughts. but the question we asked was, have you ever experienced the creation of thought? And they're like, well, no. So it's like, then how is it yours? Like, you don't need to own that thought, just experience it, and you can keep going.
Sam, can you, sorry to cut you off. Can you share a bit more about what you mean by creation of thought? Because I get it, and I know our client did, but just in case there's people that are not,
Sure.
What do you mean by that?
Sure. So just to give you a bit more context, I'm assuming, I'm going to make the assumption that we can agree that we all experience thought. Like I'm pretty sure that there's not many people out there that are going to say no to that. Right? So we experience thought. Hopefully we can agree and start on that playing field together. But what's really interesting is that when you ask people, where does that thought come from? Have you ever experienced where it starts? Have you experienced where it comes from, or the creation of it? Have you ever chosen that? Have you ever chosen to have that thought? What thought are you going to have in the next 5 seconds? They can't tell you. But yet we've created this belief so rigidly that we are what we think. And that is the only experience that's available to us. That there's so much attachment to that it becomes just whole truth. It's like the whole kind of, my whole experience comes from thought kind of thing. And so when we start to see that actually we're not the thought, we witness it, we experience it, we can kind of take a step back from it. It takes the sting out of it. And then we can kind of show up anyway. And it coincides really nicely with the fear about people saying no, and the fear of rejection or putting yourself out there and that sort of stuff. It can feel really real. But it's also really real and really human to experience those things whilst you do it. Like, it's perfectly okay to experience, be nervous, be shaky, be worried. Like, that's part and parcel of experience. It's all okay. And I think it's just really important to acknowledge that and to get really real. Because like you said, when we see people online, the easy assumption is, oh, well, they're okay. They've got something I don't. They've nailed it. But I can guarantee you they experience the same thing as you do. 100%. There's absolutely no way that no one on this earth doesn't experience all feelings at some point. It's just the way that it works. So just checking in with that doesn't turn into procrastination. And the only other thing I had to share was, someone said about hearing the word no or fear of rejection. Me and you were talking just before this. And I had a conversation with someone not so long ago, and they had exactly the same fear. It's like, I'm so scared of somebody saying no. What if they say no? There's a fear of rejection there. And I said, okay, so let's talk about your experience now. What are you saying no to? And they're like, well, myself. So I was like, so you're experiencing no, yeah? Oh yeah, I am experiencing no. Isn't it different when somebody else says no? I was like, I don't know, you tell me. Is it different when you experience no from yourself or other people? And they were like, oh, no. So it just freed up that whole kind of, just say yes. Sometimes it's easier just to say yes and hear no from somebody else. Like, and that's okay.
Yeah, I love that so much. I think that's my favorite thing you've said to me all day.
Oh, not just ever. Oh, that's a good thing. But yeah, it's just one of those funny moments that I always remember, because it was just kind of like a really random question. Hi, Bev. Bev says hello.
Hi, Bev.
Rosie put building consistency is my problem, and I think I'd like to answer that question directly as well. I'm sure you'll have thoughts on building consistency. Would you like to go first? Or would you like me to, considering you didn't know the questions coming?
I'm happy to. I'll just go with whatever's entering my mind right now. I probably have more questions to ask first, but consistency for me feels easier when it's something that I'm really interested in doing. So if something's feeling hard, then I'm less likely to be consistent with it. So for me in my business, it was like finding a way that felt really authentic and really aligned. and lit me up. Not always, but like generally kind of lit me up so that I could be consistent. So this Facebook Lives that we do every like Tuesday night are a brilliant example of that. I never ever wanted to do Facebook Lives. When I started, I was like super resistant to the idea. And I started off by doing videos, not lives, just videos that I could then like watch over and over and over, or re-record over and over. And then I'd share it if I wanted to. And so with lives, it was like, oh, I know a way that we could do Facebook Lives. I could do it with somebody else because then it's a conversation. So my fear was doing it on my own and having my mind go blank. So there was no way I was going to be consistent with that, because where I was in my growth then was like, it was just too big a block for me to move through. So I think the first thing is just finding what's easy for you. Like, what's an easy yes? What would you like to say yes to really regularly? And doing that, because that you're setting yourself up for success then. It's like, I'm more likely to be consistent if something's an easy yes. Yeah, I could go on, but I think that's probably the main thing that came up.
I agree. I think that's what I would say too. It's like, often when I talk to people about consistency, they're trying to be consistent in actions that they don't want to be doing. And that's a slog, man. That's dredging yourself through the mud. Like, and I used to get it in when I was a PT as well. You know, people are just slogging themselves through stuff they don't really want to be doing. So for me, what changed was when I realized that the thing that is the most consistent is my intention. Like you said today, we're having a conversation, is my intention behind what I'm doing. And my intention is to serve, like to really serve and to help, to really serve people more than anyone has ever served them before. And in terms of a coaching conversation and all the other stuff that comes with that. And when I know that is the consistent thing, the actions tend to fall in the line of that. Like when we focus on the actions and the behavior, we're going too far ahead. We're skipping too far ahead. So the actions are a byproduct of the intention. And just focusing on the actions, at some point you're going to run out of steam.
Yeah.
And I used to see that with adherence to exercise and nutrition all the time. You know, you get that, yeah, I'm up for this, let's do it. And then 3-4 weeks later, they're like, oh, I can't bother. Don't like it, it's too hard. Or, and they start making excuses. Yeah, I'll go to a different trainer, he's nicer. So, yeah, there's something in that for me as well. But again, you know, we'd have to ask more questions. Zeraze is on. Hello, Zeraze.
Hi, Zeraze. On the consistency piece as well, just really getting clear around like what helped me with, I know the things that grew my business were when I was in conversation with people. So dropping everything else and really looking at my schedule to go, right, how many minutes am I spending on a day on inviting people into conversation or having conversations? And I just simplified it and really looked at those are my two kind of target metrics, if you like, to focus on. So as long as I was consistent in the things that were growing my business, that was a win. Like that's where I would bring in the consistency. Like that felt like that's where I need to be putting my focus. So if I'm consistent in those things, then my business is going to grow. And I think consistency is way more important than what you just said, Sam, about like really impulsive, like I'm going to go hard and I'm going to go fast for like 2 hours and then I'm not going to do anything. Or like for 2 days and then I'm not going to do anything for the next 3 weeks. Or I'm just going to like, oh, all my energy's gone now from those 2 days. I'm going to not do anything with that. Whereas it's better to do like, even if you have 20 minutes a day, it's better to be consistent, like 20 minutes every day on creating conversations, like, you know, or if you're using content, like putting content out there, it's better than having one really long post a month. It's better to have smaller, more regular posts.
Yeah, I think you're right. And the other thing that comes up for me as you were saying that was just going back to those days again of adherence, really, which was consistency. I think we view consistency as something to do, as like an achievement, something to create. Whereas that is never really the case. I've never seen that really be useful. Like consistency is the byproduct of knowing what it is you want to do and loving what you're actually doing, or you're the intention behind it. It's like, how can I think of an example of this? If I think about the most successful clients I've had, it's because they've got, there's this kind of underlying love for what they're doing that overrides all of it. And then consistency kind of falls into place. Whereas when it's like, I've heard that once you have the miracle morning and you get up at 5 o'clock and you do 100 press ups, have a cold shower, you know, all the rest of it, then you have consistency. You can have the best day. And it's like, you know, I just feel like it's bullshit, really. To be honest, talking of, you know, being honest, I just think it's bullshit. I love to get to the real crux. And I'd say this to you, Rosa, you know, get to, and we can talk about this on the course, get to the real crux of what it is that you want to do and why you're doing it and the love behind it. You know, what is it? Where's that? How deep does that go? And then work from there. Yeah. And we have gone on for quite a long time, you
know. As per. Should we just do a quick refresh of what to expect from the course?
Right, go for it.
So it starts tomorrow. So exciting. Yeah. So exciting. 7:30 UK time. So there's an app called Time Buddy that you can use if you're in different parts of the world that will convert it for you. So at 7:30 p.m. UK time. It's going to be 4 weeks. So it'd be great if everyone could come to all 4 weeks every Wednesday at the same time. And it's really, like Sam said, it's really around meeting you where you're at. So there'll be a lot of new coaches, a lot of exciting coaches on there, just feeling a little bit stuck in terms of, you know, where do I start? How do I create clients? What do invitations look like? What do you mean when you talk about connecting with people? All those kind of questions I think will come up. But bring any questions that you have. We want this to be really relevant for you. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm ready to go.
Oh yeah, and just bring all your shit, guys. This is a chance to really, you know, me and Lisa, hopefully you can see it from what we talk about. We don't hold back. This isn't a case of, oh, we'll just give you a taste and then hold back. It's nothing, it's not that. This is bring your shit and we will help you pull it apart, put it back together again properly and help you create your business. Like there is, you know, as long as the love there is there, there's no reason why that couldn't work.
Yeah. But just come with an open mind.
Yes, always.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, guys, we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Lots of love.